built at a fraction of the amount being quoted for the cathedral.
Yeah. From my experience in building,
Wow.
we can still build the cathedral at a fraction of the cost. The cost of $350 million for the National Cathedral, in my estimation, is unattainable by the church. Indeed, our executive director has told us we are expected to raise only 3% of the money. We must ask this executive director questions, Bernard. If that is the case, it places a burden on the government to come up with a very large amount of money when we're not supposed to build this with government money.
Maybe the rest will be donors.
It is possible, and it apparently happens.
So 3% church.
Because later on we will discover that an idea was mooted to go and collect a loan to build the cathedral.
Forgive.
It is possible for the National Cathedral to get a loan, but I do not know who is going to approve of such a loan or guarantee such a loan in the midst of the current world financial crisis.
Especially when the cathedral is a tourism facility that will supposedly attract tourism dollars to pay for it, over which payback period?
Quickly, let me wrap this up for Sky.
So end up with the fundraising.
Yes, the fundraising. The fact that the church cannot raise such an amount, as shown by the results of our fundraising efforts so far, and the fact that the government may not be in a position to guarantee such a loan, means that we have to think of another way to fund the building of the National Cathedral. I do believe that the fundraising methods we have attempted have not yielded much. Indeed, some of the programs we have held have cost more than the monies we have raised from them.
Charlie, this is...
Absolutely. I suggest another, let me repeat that line, I like it. Indeed, some of the programs we have held have cost more than the monies we have raised from them. I suggest another form of fundraising where we will be guaranteed more donations from denominations, churches, individuals, businessmen, and corporate bodies. I will be happy to discuss this if the committee is interested in that. I am a firm believer in the president's vision. I believe that the public can see and is questioning the fact that we have spent almost 6 years since the sword cutting of this project, as well as over $30 million of public funds to excavate a massive pit in the center of the city.
Ghana, the center of Africa.
I do believe that many of the questions that are being asked and held at the National Cathedral project are reasonable and legitimate questions by objective citizens. Then goes on to end with Isaiah 60, verses 1 and 2.
Wow.
Thank you. Signed by Doug Hayward Mills, Ghana Charismatic Bishops Conference.
So he wrote this letter to the chairman of the Board of Trustees in June.
You see,
essentially questioning the approach, questioning the strategy, the makeup of the organization, and imploring for a new way forward, saying that let's change strategy, let's reduce the cost, let's get more accountability, let's answer citizens' questions. Now, this is
basically suggesting that the board of trustees is not exactly in charge,
directly involved.
Exactly.
So this is June. Do you know if anything happened since?
Well, we have it on authority that he has since tendered in his letter of resignation.
So sorry, the thing you read was June.
Yes. So in August he resigned.
Oh.
So in August, on the 14th of August 2022, he wrote a letter to the chairman of the Board of Trustees, and it is titled Resignation from the National Cathedral Board of Trustees. The letter is about, it's actually 6 pages long, but I will just pick out some of the highlights, basically to make the point. And also to make the point that apparently he had written previously, repeatedly, making his concerns known.
So what Godfrey read was on the first
one? That's right. It was just the penultimate document he wrote to the chairman of the board. And paragraph 1 of his letter of resignation says, I am a firm believer in the president's vision to build a national cathedral for Ghana. I wholeheartedly support the president's ambition to build a cathedral for Ghana to the glory of our God, and have desired to freely contribute to the project in every way possible. I put my thoughts, ideas, suggestions, questions, and comments in writing for discussions at our meetings so that they could be addressed in an organized fashion. Further, it is out of respect to the Board of Trustees that I have spent several long hours to write and address the chairman and other honorable members of the Board of Trustees in a thoughtful, and coordinated fashion. Thank you for the audience to address my last letter written to the Board of Trustees dated the 22nd of June 2022. Respectfully, there are matters arising from our conversation at the meeting of the Board of Trustees on the 8th of August 2022. He proceeds to say, our meeting on the 8th of August 2022 did not address satisfactorily the issues I put forward in my letter to the Board of Trustees dated the 22nd day of June 2022.
The letter Godfrey just read.
Exactly. I do feel that the treatment of the issues I have raised in my several letters have been unfortunate. My letters have been ignored in the past, not attended to for years, and at best addressed flippantly. You may recall, I have spoken passionately and written extensively about the cost, the design, the location, the funding, the mobilization of the churches, and the role of the trustees. These, if heeded to, would have made our project more achievable. Generally speaking, my inputs, my opinions, and my letters have been trivialized and set aside. He goes on to say, as per the President's verbal appointment of myself at the beginning of this project, I was named as one of the Board of Trustees and have approached our work on the Board of Trustees as diligently as I can. In recent revelations at a board meeting, I learned to my surprise that I am not duly so registered as a director of the company of the National Cathedral of Ghana, a company limited by guarantee. Instead, some other people whom I have never met are real trustees of this esteemed board. I do not believe this is an oversight, but a deliberate exclusion from the board. 6 years is a long time to correct this failure to register me if it was indeed an administrative lapse. It goes on to say that I have therefore accepted for some time now that I am not a trustee of the National Cathedral, but I have still sought to help the cathedral because I believe in the present vision and I do not have to be a legally registered trustee to do so. I refer to myself in this letter as a trustee because even though I am not privy to most of the weighty decisions of the board, I am referred to as such. The role of the state and the church in this project continues to be unclear. This lack of clarity is robbing our vision of the validity it needs. Over and over, I have asked that we address this appropriately and urgently because there are many dire implications to the trustees and the individuals involved in this project. Now, he goes on to say, to speak about some other things, but let me now take you to basically the meat of what he says, because Godfrey touched on some of the key things that he raised, and basically he cataloged those things again, the concerns that he's raised about how the project is being handled, how trustees are not being made to take decisions, that government officials are taking decisions when they are supposed to be the Board of Trustees, and how these things are undermining the integrity of the people who are supposed to be members of the Board of Trustees, and many, many, many things. And then he comes on to paragraph 12 of his letter to say that if I do not know all these things, Godfrey mentioned them earlier, and how they are being done, I cannot claim to be a trustee who is managing the business of the National Cathedral. At this point, I realize that I'm unable to function on this board and wish to withdraw and resign from the Board of Trustees.
So he resigned.
Exactly. I have waited for clear and unambiguous clarifications and responses on the different issues, including the roles, the responsibilities, and the liabilities of us, the trustees, the government, and all other unknown and invisible stakeholders. All I have received is a condescending and disdainful response for or to my letters.
Please.
In the last few paragraphs, he says, my support for the construction of the National Cathedral for Ghana is unflinching. I have desired and supported this project ardently from the beginning. No one, including members on the Board of Trustees, can ascribe to me the posture of one who is an outsider or one who has not and does not support this vision. It is unfortunate, he says, that my letters over the last 6 years of this project seem to be more of an aggravating annoyance than some help to the building of the cathedral. Unfortunately, I cannot continue to function on a committee if my input is perceived as opposition to the cause. I am truly sorry to have come across as a stranger, an outsider, and a troublemaker.
Who is this copied to?
It's copied to the Executive Director of the National Cathedral Secretariat, Archbishop Charles Palmer Buckle, Most Reverend Justice Ofe Akrofi, Right Reverend Professor Emmanuel Mate, and Most Reverend T.K. Awachepra.
There's also more.
Yeah, and it goes on to say Reverend Professor Cephas Omenyu, right? Archbishop Duncan Williams, Reverend Eastwood Anaba, Reverend Dr. Joyce Ai, Reverend Dr. Frimpong Manso, Reverend Victor Kusi Boateng, His Excellency the President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, and Mr. Ken.
These are the Okbes of the...
Charlie, these are the members of
the spiritual governance of the...
They are the the Chaco Stick members.
So he addressed it to the Executive Secretary and then copied to the Director of the Cathedral Secretary. That's the gentleman we spoke about. And then Palmer Buckle Akrof. So this is everybody.
And you know...
when was it dated?
This one, August 14th.
So he left... He resigned.
Yes. Yeah, he resigned. It's important that he says. Let me read the last three paragraphs.
The last three paragraphs,
if I may.
To nail the point.
Exactly. For me, it will be a great tragedy if we are not able to accomplish this vision of the president by 2024. It would have been a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that we would have made to slip away over an 8-year period. I would like to state clearly that if in the future there is more clarity to my role and function in the building of the National Cathedral, I remain open, available, and willing to serve at the pleasure of the President and the nation. Regardless of your response to my resignation and inputs, I remain a supporter of the National Cathedral project and will endeavor to be present to rejoice with the nation when this project is completed. This is a very important paragraph I'm reading. I ask that the Board of Trustees keep my resignation a confidential matter. In not leaking it to the media, because I do not wish the media or the general public to construe my withdrawal as a sign of a lack of support or belief in the building of the National Cathedral.
So why are you reading?
This could not be further from the truth. I shall inform the President myself of the matters arising and of my decision to resign because I believe it is now appropriate for me to do so. My prayer is that this committee will reflect deeply on my input over the last few years and recognize my inability to function and continue to serve while these issues mentioned remained obfuscated. I also hope the committee would realize how difficult it has been to come to this decision, considering my respect for the members of this committee, my passion for this project, and my personal relationship with the President. Thank you in advance for your understanding.
Pana said don't leak that thing.
Okay, so then let's separate the issues.
Okay.
It was his wish that the committee would not leak it.
Okay.
But that doesn't prevent a citizen of Ghana
from
getting a copy of it and making his views known to the public.
But he was afraid that it will be construed wrongly. So I think it's a responsibility to construe it properly.
Yeah, but
so his point is that if it is leaked, it will be construed as he not supporting the project.
Yeah, but because we've been able to give you the
background. So it's very clear that we've done that justice.
Exactly. Just to sum up, time is almost as fast spent on this matter. You now understand where I've come from on this.
Yes, I do.
You see, because in all good conscience, Bernard, the lack of transparency, accountability, they are just every other week. Maybe something comes up around this building.
Just dissolve the whole thing.
Yeah, no, but you see, the thing is this.
Or they already cost incurred.
They've incurred costs.
So they should do it according to this proposal. Do it small.
Bernard, for me, my concern, remember there's a day I spoke about the church and why I was pained as a Christian by some of the things. Because, Bernard, some of the things that have gone wrong with this cathedral are the basics of wrongdoing that our church leaders teach us from Sunday school.
Yeah.
They teach us, these are the basics, so it's not advanced theology. These are the basics that they teach us in Bible school.
Speak the truth. Be consistent.
Yeah. These are the things they teach us. And at this level, if you are on a project that has such big questions around it, and then you finish, then you come back and then ask me, oh, we are doing this, which is why I told you from the start, there is no proper buy-in from the Christian community in Ghana for this project.
And I think that you are right because of he admits that.
He admits it.
Fundraising.
You are struggling with fundraising because if Ghanaian Christians say they will build this cathedral, Bernard, I say it won't take 1 month. They will put up this cathedral and go and do whatever they want to do in it.
$50 million.
Of course, because a lot of I'm Presbyterian, we will ask questions.
Hey.
You cannot spend 1 cedi of a Presbyterian church's money without accounting.
Do you know session?
Yeah, it will be discussed thoroughly. There will be church forum.
We are EP church.
No, they have session. They have session.
That's what I mean. The Catholic is related.
I say that the whole narrative around this, where it has been made to look like if you don't support this vision, you don't have Ghana at heart, or you don't believe. I mean, they should put that narrative is completely wrong.
Okay, so let's see how the strategy issue goes.
Yeah, I just want to make a quick point, Bernard, that you see, at this point, you know, I have always stayed away from critiquing the project. It's a personal decision I've made. But what I want to say is that, look, at this point, the project has lost legitimacy by reason of the exposés that have been made, the scandals around it, and insider voices of conscience like this who have spoken repeatedly, and it would seem that they have not been listened to. I think the next thing the president has to do is to first of all dissolve
the board of trustees
entirely. And from this letter, it would seem that some of these things have not come to the attention of the president because he's been craving an opportunity, if you read the letters,
to speak to the president.
Exactly. And for them to meet the president and bring these things to his attention.
They are blocking.
So it should be dissolved and let's discuss a better way forward for dealing with this project if we have to do it.
6 minutes past 9, City Breakfast Show. Well, we said we had a number of issues, but the cathedral has taken a huge chunk of the time. We'll turn our attention to Effective Living series next. Michael Ohinifa is on the sidelines to speak to us about the top skills you need for 2023. Before that, ECG has noticed with great concern the uncontrolled activity of bush burning, especially during the Harmattan season, which adversely impacts on the quality of power supply. These uncontrolled settings of fire to clear bushes end up burning our network system, resulting in outages and inconveniences to our customers. This also puts a heavy toll on our limited finances. Please be informed that ECG reserves the right to seek legal redress against offenders whose activities destroy our installations. Help ECG serve you better. Go to ecg.com.gh for more information. Are you getting good insights from your data for decision making? Join the data analytics revolution and empower your team to work smart, save time, and deliver insights from data using the world's most powerful business tools, Microsoft Excel and Power BI. Finex Skills Hub offers hands-on practical training to corporates and individuals in Excel for work, data analytics, and financial modeling to help you improve productivity at the office. Register now via www.finexskillshub, that's FINEX skillshub.com, or call 0244 782 356. That's 0244 782 356. Sign up today for our corporate and individual training sessions. Finex Skills Hub, learn, connect, and grow.
This is the City Breakfast Show, the city's biggest conversation.
Freight forwarding just got easier. Say goodbye to the days of excuses and disappointments with Hallmark Freight and Logistics Ghana Limited. Our attention to detail prevents customers from ever having to pay demurrage. Our quality and cost-effective services include ocean freight, air freight, customs clearance, logistics, warehousing, project cargo, ex-works, haulage, break bulk, and courier services. Trust us to get your goods from any part of the world delivered to you at your convenience. Have your air freight delivered in less than 24 hours. Sea freight in less than 48 hours and land freight in just 4 hours. Visit our offices on the 4th floor of Allied Heights, Abelempe, or Cargo Village Airport. Call us today on 0302 915 335 or 0501 471 599 or visit our website Hallmark Freight GH.
Welcome to another edition of your Effective Living series on Citi FM and Citi TV. This is your 2023 Starter Pack. In this series, we're trying to give you the right foundation for the year. In this, our third week, we're speaking about professional priorities for the year. Our topic today is very simple. What are the top skills you need, not just to survive, but to thrive in 2023 and beyond? My guest is Michael Ohiniefa. He's been on this program for the past 15 or so years with some deep insights. Michael, thanks for coming.
Thank you, Bernard, for having me.
There are few people I introduce on the show that I don't need to say what they do. You're one of them. So when I say Michael, you know who he is. He's been there, done that. He has a T-shirt. He has an African print. So it's good to have you again.
Thank you.
So top skills for 2023 and beyond. These things keep changing. I remember the last time I saw something like this, it was for 2015. And even then, a lot of the skills on that list were not things I even knew existed when I was graduating in Legon in 2004.
That's right.
Right? Because there were things like cognitive flexibility, negotiation skills.
Yeah.
Nobody taught me those things whilst I was in Legon.
Yeah.
Of course, I probably learned some in my leadership staff. So I'm sure this list for 2023 will be very wild.
Not wildly wild. Okay. But a few things, a few surprises here and there.
Good.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. What are you going to talk about? What is skill? Why are skills important in this current situation?
All right. So the way I've structured it, I want to dwell a bit on the context for this conversation.
All right.
Why should we be talking about it like I was saying? Why should we be discussing top skills for 2023? Why should it interest somebody who has just started work? Why should it interest a mid-career person? Why should it interest an executive? And then I'll be looking at the attitudes, because you need an attitude first before the skill. And so we'll be looking at what are the top attitudes that we need to be able to do well, excel, and climb the corporate ladder. And then we'll be doing the skills itself, and then we'll come to behaviors. Because when you have a skill, it must be expressed in what you do every day when you get to work. So what are the behaviors that you need to not only survive, but to excel in your work for 2023 and beyond?
Fantastic. So why are skills important? Why the top skills?
Very good. Now, have you paid attention to the fact that a child that is starting kindergarten today will get onto the job market in 2041? Because of about, take or leave it, 18 years or 19 years, depending upon whether they do KG or KG is 2 years or 1 year. And so you are going to enter the job market in 2041. Now, if your child is in class 1, primary 1 today, they are going to enter the job market in 2039. Now, cast your mind forward and ask yourself, how would the world look like in 2041? So that is why the skills are important, because you are going to live and work in a world that will be vastly different from what we know today. And if you want to measure that, let's cast our mind back to 20 years ago when you and I were in secondary school and look at the world we live and operate in today. How things have come up and changed everything that we do. That is how come we need to have a conversation on the skills that we need for 2023 and beyond.
When you put it that way, it makes it even more scary. Because I don't even know. 2003, I was in level 300.
Very good.
So 20 years after that, wow.
Yeah. Look at the world. Did you ever imagine that you would live in this world and the skills that you needed to be able to excel in today's world when you were in level 300? And that's the same thing that's going to happen to our children. So we need to prepare them for what is coming. And then we need to, develop, not only prepare, but to develop them and to make sure that they are going to survive. Now, to also set the context, I don't know whether you follow the work of Professor Michio Kaku. Michio Kaku is an American physicist, futurist, and science commentator. And he been working on the Moore's Law. You know the Moore's Law? That every 2 years or so, the amount of information in the world will exponentially double. So what is happening is that the world itself is changing at such a fast rate with information technology and the processors that we use in computers, that it is going to make technology very, very cheap and affordable in the next years. Now, as an example, you know the iMac?
Yes.
Yeah, the Tikopo iMac.
Yeah.
I remember those days when I was with Originate and it came and, you have one, it was like,
you have the biggest thing in the world.
Exactly. It has been an air conditioned when everybody was here and you needed special technicians to come and check it out. Do you know that today an iPhone has more processing power than that iMac?
Can you imagine?
Exactly.
And it's in your pocket.
It's in our pocket. It's 3 times smaller, but double the size and the capacity of that iMac. And that is how the world we are going to work in from this year and beyond. Because mini computers, mini machinettes, what is the biggest cause? The Internet of Things. This is going to shape every work that we do. Now, as an example, today, there are robots that can lay 20,000 bricks an hour. Hey. So Efo Koku, who is a bricklayer in Akachi, is in trouble if he does not change, because a computer will now get him, a robot will now take him out of job.
20,000 bricks in an hour.
An hour. And there are machines, cars that are now laying pavement blocks at a speed and accuracy that we will never get from our workers. So everybody is impacted. When we do this, and people think, it's just for the office people. Everybody, look at today, Uber driving and the traditional taxi drivers. So if you don't know how to manage a smartphone, you can't even drive a car in the next decade. So this is the context. This is why this topic is so important going forward as we prepare for what is coming. So the future is going to be technology. The future is going to be fast-paced. Things are going to change at the speed of light. And everybody must prepare. I mean, I remember when I was growing up, I started my life as an advertising salesman. And when we have an event, you needed to go and get GBC to come and cover for your client. When they are coming, the cameras that they will bring, it's like Putomantu.
Big.
Today, look at the cameras.
Some of the cameras even had like curtains behind them.
Yes.
You hide under the curtain.
The whole human being is carrying them. So when you are doing solid, you have to pay like 7 people.
I tell you.
Today, look at the cameras.
Some of the shows we do, they use this
on
a tripod
to shoot.
And it's just awesome.
Exactly. The sound is
and some
better.
of this is 4K.
Yeah. The sound is better. The pictures are much clearer. So it is even changing the demands of work like photographers, cameramen, and other things. So this is the future. All right, so then what must we do? So first, we look at attitudes. What attitudes will help you to survive these things? And number one is, for me, any worker that has a can-do attitude. Today, you are a general manager, you run Citi, and you know the importance of an attitude when it comes to which worker to work with, which worker to assign what responsibility to, and who to give any task to. I ran 2 businesses until August, and then I delisted one. But it is increasingly difficult to find people who want to apply themselves. So if you don't have a can-do attitude, and a can-do attitude shows in, I don't know, but I'll find out.
I like that.
Give me some time, I'll check it out for you. I haven't done this before, but say, let me try. That kind of attitude is what will buy you the future. If you don't have that attitude, you may get a first class from university and find yourself without a job.
I don't know, but I'll find out.
Yes.
Can-do attitude. This is Effective Living Series. This is the 3rd week. We're looking at top skills for 2023. My guest, Michael Ohiniefa, jumping right in. Top skills we need. Can-do attitude, critical. Let's go on.
The second one is a value-adding employee.
Okay.
You see, the exchange between an employer and an employee is an exchange of value. The employer pays a salary, compensation, emoluments package in exchange for value that the employee will offer him. So if you are an employee that does not offer your employer any value, you are going to be out there in the cold. So one, what value do you add to the organization's operation? Can your bosses trust you? And if you are a business owner, what value do you give or offer to your customers? Value adding.
Big thing.
Number 3, infectious enthusiasm for the work.
Infectious enthusiasm.
Yes. I mean, every employer or boss wants an employee that gives 100% of themselves and brings that to a particular task. Today, we have people who are just doing their work anyhow, or biara. Okay, I've tried. Oh, have you called the people? Yes, I tried, their number is off. So what have you done? that kind of work doesn't add value to the work. And no, you can't rise up in any organization if that is your attitude.
Infectious enthusiasm for the work.
That's right.
Like that.
Yeah, because you see, it is your enthusiasm that will bring in even customers to the role. For instance, if you're a front desk executive, it is your enthusiasm for the role that will make sure that a customer buys, repeats, and comes back again. It is what will tell someone, oh, the Citi guys, they are good. Oh, the people at this insurance company, oh, I like, it's a pleasant this thing to talk to them. But when you have somebody who just does their work, anyhow, hello, you have called this place. Even it sacks customers. Or it draws people away from
infectious enthusiasm for the work. I like that.
And then we want somebody who is committed to delivery, to task. You give him, he does not stop until he has resolved the issue. Wow. We don't want somebody who says it's 5 o'clock. It's 5 o'clock, but you are halfway through the work, and yet you are going away. And they will come. I have, with the little experience I have as a business owner, I see that workers are more skilled at giving excuses than in applying that skill in solving the work.
Oh, Lord.
So there's a very they are very creative at inventing excuses than in using that same creativity to do the work.
Oh, my God.
No, that's the problem we are having. And you can talk to any business owner, small business owner in this city.
They will find every reason why it will not work.
The creativity, the planning and thinking that people will go, the lengths with which people will go through to give you an excuse. If they can apply that same thing to their task, it will be delivered. And then finally, an attitude of flexible and being adaptive to change. Because as we are seeing, change is now the only constant. Every 2 years, things are changing. Technology is changing the way we live and work. And so if you don't have an attitude that I am flexible, if you don't have an attitude that, yes, let me apply myself to this task. And I see how, even with Citi, you are moving people between TV and radio and different departments and trying different things. Yeah. It is all because those people are ready to change. Maybe you applied for Citi to do radio, but you find yourself handling a TV program. The next day you find yourself doing a magazine program. The next day you find yourself doing a documentary. That's the ability to adapt as the needs of the organization come. But I see that there are a lot of people who say, hey, I came here as a this, so me, what you are telling me, I say about why. But I didn't go to school today. And they confiscate their future on the altar of a job description.
So that flexibility is critical.
It's critical. If you want to rise up in any organization, you need to be malleable. Your bosses need to trust you with anything that will come. And so when we are having management meetings, guess whose name we are, mentioning? For instance, you apply to work in a bank in Ghana. The next 2 years, you've been posted to Gambia. You must be adaptable. Otherwise, you continue to be a local champion and be operating. I don't look at anything, but
I was listening to Bismarck, who said even when you look at the way they build train rails, they leave space for expansion and reduction. So when you look at a big building, they allow space for swings.
Good.
And he then says, if you have no give room for flexibility, you will break.
That's right.
Because if you see those buildings that are very high, they allow for certain space for shifts.
Good.
That if you just maintain when a new wind blows, you can't survive. Yeah. And I think that's very powerful.
For instance, in Lead Africa, my own organization, anybody that can tell you the first thing, no matter what you do in this organization, you must be able to train. No matter, you may be the accountant, you must train in accounting. Because we are a training organization.
So if you can't train, you are useless to us.
You are useless to us. Otherwise, you will not grow.
So even the drivers must be able to train.
You must be able to train. You must be able to run a workshop. When we do our children's camp, you must be able to handle some of the children.
Wow.
So you can't just say, me a driver, so me, I don't know how to handle children. You continue to drive, somebody will come.
And it will add value to you.
Exactly.
Because how many drivers can train?
Yes.
So I feel sometimes people see organizations like I'm giving to the organization without knowing that
they are building themselves.
Yes, I think that's something a lot of people miss.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So those are the attitudes.
Yeah.
You haven't mentioned hardcore skills here too.
Yes, because the attitudes precede the skills.
Okay. So so that's why people say I hire for attitude, I train for skill.
That's right.
The attitude precedes the skill.
The attitude precedes the skill. All right, so let's now jump into the skills. So like you said, the World Economic Forum, every year or every other year, they release based on a survey, based on talking to business leaders, what they look at the skills for the future. And once again, they have released the one for up to 2025. So what are the top skills that is going to make sure that you continue to remain in a job, that a computer will not take your role? Number 1, analytical thinking and innovation. Number 2, active learning and learning strategies. Number 3, complex problem solving. Number 4, critical thinking and analysis. Number 5, creativity, originality, and initiative. Number 6, leadership and social influence. Number 7, technology use, monitoring, and control. 8, technology design and programming. 9, resilience, stress tolerance, and flexibility. 10, reasoning, problem solving, and ideation. 11, emotional intelligence. 12, troubleshooting and user experience. 13, service orientation. 14, systems analysis and evaluation. 15, persuasion and negotiation.
You are rushing too much. Every one of these.
Well, we can show this on the screen.
Please do it. Please put it on the screen, because
top skills
I couldn't. One of my skills is I couldn't copy fast. So, analytical. Can you go through this again?
Number 1, analytical thinking and innovation. Active learning and learning strategies. Complex problem solving. Critical thinking and analysis. Creativity, originality, and initiative. Leadership and social influence. Technology use, monitoring, and control. Technology design and programming. Resilience, stress tolerance, and flexibility. Reasoning, problem solving, and ideation. Emotional intelligence. Troubleshooting and user experience. Service orientation. Systems analysis and evaluation. And then persuasion and negotiation.
Charlie, this deserves a whole workshop.
Yes.
This is serious.
Yes.
Wow. These are like 15.
15 top skills. And as you can see, very few of them are technical skills. Very few of them are taught in school. A lot of it you have to do through personal development and through maybe having a mentor, doing some online courses, and doing other things other than what you went to school to learn.
Wow. Let me allow you to look at the list on the screen for a few minutes and tell you that this is effectively being serious. This is just week 3 and it's becoming serious. Michael Ohinefa is taking us through school and 15 top skills you need. Very important point he makes. If your child is in class 1 today, they will be entering the job market in 2039. So that's serious, right? So you need to start thinking about what kind of world they'll be in. And we're trying to just think about some of the things they need to know. So it's very heavy things being said. So let's try and bring it home, Michael.
Yeah.
We can't go through all the 15.
That's right.
A couple of things. I noticed that they say technology use, but also technology design. Yeah. So there are 2 different skills. Yeah. So you may be a great coder and a programmer.
Yeah.
But even if you're not a programming guy, you have to use, so you should be comfortable enough to use what the people create.
Good.
So you don't necessarily need to be a coding person, but you must understand the way it works. I thought that was quite profound.
So you can use it in your work.
Yes, so they brought 2 dimensions of technology.
That's right.
So we all don't have
The first one is for the technical people,
Yes.
those who are actually doing the design.
The design and, yeah.
And then the other one is you and I. How do we use technology, or how do we leverage technology for the work that we do?
And then I like the point about troubleshooting. Thought that was very interesting.
Yeah.
Complex problem solving is there.
Yeah.
Okay, but I like the influence, leadership, something about leadership, something about influence.
Leadership and social influence. That's number 6.
Social influence.
That's
so
right.
Who can you rally?
Who can you bring towards
a cause?
That's right.
And I think people need to be careful. Social influence is not necessarily social media.
Yeah.
Because if I send you to Dakuman and say, organize a cleanup, how are you going to do it?
Yeah.
So it's not just, I can get 10,000 people to like my post of mango and wheat.
Yeah.
But essentially, who can you mobilize to do something?
Can you rally people
around the cause?
Do you stand for something? Are you noted for something?
It's very important.
Exactly.
Wow.
And I like that you differentiate that between
social media
exactly.
and social influence.
So you can have 2 million followers, but it doesn't make you
must translate into something.
Exactly.
And then of course you talk about the systems analysis like this. It's very wild. Anyway, so we have a few minutes to go. What do you want to emphasize as we wrap up? Because these are things that require a lot of contemplation and planning for.
Yes. So basically, if you are watching or listening to us, the task for you is to begin a quest to develop yourself in these skills. Read around it, get a mentor, get a coach, attend workshops. You can learn a lot of these things. We in Lead Africa, we've just created a e-learning platform, and you can learn anything you want in sometimes as little as 11 minutes. We are not taking advantage of these things. The Ghanaian and the black man is the only one who is using social media for fun and comedy. But people are learning how to code and to do things on YouTube. People are doing stuff. And I always give this example. I think the last Commonwealth Games, the guy who won the shot put gold was a Kenyan, and he says he learned shot put just by watching YouTube. But when we go to YouTube, is to laugh, to download something, some people doing something, and then we laugh and we leave it there. So
we are not creating content. We are not even using the content to develop ourselves.
When you are in a group and you send anything that is serious,
no comment.
No comment. Put a comedy there, 100 likes and 100 forward. So leverage technology. Get yourself a mentor or a coach who will help you. That, okay, for instance, I want to be analytical and innovation. How do I go about it? How do I learn about it? Apply yourself. I say this all the time. We have 24 hours a day. That 24 hours has 3 blocks. 8 hours for your work or your business. 8 hours for sleep. A lot of us cannot account for the last 8 hours. You have that, which is equivalent to just about how much you spend on your regular work to do anything you want, to learn anything you want. So what you want to do this year, 2023, is that between 8 to 5, give it to your business or your work. That gives you income. But wealth is created from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. So what are you going to do between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m.? A lot of us can't account for that time. And it is high time that we use that to be able to build some of these skills. Wow. Now, one of the people I read, Robin Sharma, he says, to double your income, you must triple your investment in personal development.
To double your income, triple your investment
in personal development.
Wow. This is good. Guys, are you listening? So double your income, triple your investment in personal development. So
that's right.
I don't know what you can do. There's always something you can learn.
That's right.
Personal development efforts are critical for doubling. So you then create multiple income streams. Because I always tell people, a lot of the things that give me money are not related to my line of work.
That's it.
So somebody could say, okay, come and do a session for my managers and explain the financial sector. I don't necessarily, it's not my paid job, but I'll spend some time and do some presentation. They're like, wow, this is good. Can you speak to a larger group?
Good.
And they're going to pay you for it. And sometimes, of course, if I know the information, it helps me on my show.
Good.
But it's not necessarily required knowledge. So get an extra book, read it in 3 days, and then do your own presentation. So double your income by tripling your
investment in personal development.
I think
develop yourself, develop your person, acquire new skills, read about something else. You may be hired as an engineer, but they are talking about marketing and you have an idea because you have read about it. And you are giving the marketing guys ideas about customer acquisition. Now, that increases your value to the organization. And so next time, guess who is the new manager? So, and that's why I said we keep blaming the external forces too much. We give them too much credit. It is high time we own our own destiny.
So you shouldn't blame Russia and Ukraine.
No. Even Ukraine is not blaming itself. How can we in Ghana blame Ukraine?
They say Ukraine will do that thing.
How can we blame Ukraine for something that is happening here? Of course, we understand that the global, if price of petrol increase, there's nothing you can do. It will affect you all the same. But we are saying that you can give yourself an insurance. You can cushion yourself if you can build enough around your own personal development. And sadly, most of us are not doing a lot of that.
Wow. There's a lot to think through, so I think we'll just try and leave it here because we've run out of time. These are supposed to be teasers for you to think through. We don't want to make it too long. It's not like a lecture. You know, learning has changed, and what I do with learning is I pick what interests or affects me and I read more around it. So a lot of times people say, "Oh, Ben, send me the tape, send me the audio." No. If the thing doesn't hit you enough to be interested to research it yourself, you are being lazy. So don't translate the responsibility to Bernard. Oh, I said Bernard should send me the script, you didn't send to me. No. If of the 15 skills, you pick only 3 and you work on those 3, you can still do well. Because you may not even have time to develop all the 15. So listening to the whole thing again and getting all the 15 doesn't really help you. The 3 or 4 that you remember that you can apply yourself to, because your brain picks the things that it likes. So the things in the 15, the one that I remember are the ones that I have to develop, right? So don't use your mind for storage, use your mind for creativity. That's one of the things I'll say to you. Michael, this is awesome. I love it. Thank you so much for coming on.
It's always a pleasure.
We have been bringing you different topics around professional priorities for 2023 in this 3rd week. Michael Ohinefa, Leader Freak is where he works. He does a few other things, and he's been on. He'll come again at the end of the 16 episodes to do something we call avoiding self-sabotaging behaviors. So that, watch out for that, the last Friday of the series. We'll be with you next time. Bye-bye.
Don't you know?
Christian College located at Amasaman behind the Olympic Stadium, affiliated with KNUST and accredited by G-Tech with programs in accounting, marketing, HR, banking and finance, business info management, and more. With programs in Bachelor of Theology, Bachelor of Information in Technology. Get in touch 054 777731 or 0202289399.
No clues. Curious knife stabbed us. Now we bleed.
You can also dial star 789 star 300 to buy an online form. Heritage Christian College offering world-class university education and training compassionate entrepreneurial leaders.
No question, make every.
Now, losing a loved one stops you in your tracks and leaves you shaking. In those trying times, you can count on us. Over the past 21 years, Lashibi Funeral Homes and Crematorium has had your back when you needed it most. From picking up your loved one through to the burial or cremation and funeral receptions, Lashibi Funeral Homes and Crematorium will guide you through the unfamiliar territory of selecting products and services you need to ensure your loved one has a fitting send-off. Contact us on 0509 542 409 or email info@lashibifuneralhomes.com. And imagine 7 exciting days of adventure through 16 incredible regions of Ghana with the promise of a rich cultural experience, introspective historical visits, and exhilarating field day with nature. Join the expedition of a lifetime to discover Ghana from the 4th to the 11th of March on Heritage Caravan 2023. A journey full of fun, education, information, wonderful memories, and great bonding moments await you. Call 0205 973 973. Register for the Heritage Caravan 23, powered by Citi FM and supported by Hollard Ghana, the EU, Malta Guinness, and Ebony Condoms.
I've been down this road before, down on my knees.
All right, so Sky, I've been reading a bit around economic history.
Okay.
Because, you know, when the economic crisis started, I was saying this is possibly the most difficult time in my living memory, because I was born in 1981. And I also tell people that one of the reasons why I'm the way I am is that in the first 2 years of my life, there was no food. I was reading a document about famine in 83. And in the northern part of Ghana, in the Ashanti region, the Bono region, we are told hundreds of children died from malnutrition. There was a long spell of dry season. So there was a lot of bushfires. A lot of the crops failed. And I mean, I was an infant. All right, you were born in 82. So you probably even had a worse time. Okay. So between 81, 82, 83, things were very tough. Now, I'm bringing all of this to say that there's still hope, because I think the 80s were worse than what we are going through today. Because inflation was in the hundreds. We didn't have such an open economy. We had import licenses. There wasn't a lot of nutritious food.
Yes, cool.
Okay. I mean, yes, there wasn't as much pollution of air. There wasn't that much traffic. But I feel we even though our economy is in a difficult time, we've done it before, we can do it again. Now, it was pointed out to me by Susu Graham that apparently yesterday was exactly 40 years since the Nigerian authorities, for some reason, decided to expel all foreigners.
Aliens must go.
Good. And somehow Ghanaians bore the brunt of that, because from the history, you know, Nigeria had hit oil and it was doing much better than Ghana in the late 70s. So a lot of Ghanaians, from shoe shine people to mechanics to teachers and all of those lecturers, went to Nigeria. And I have Nigerian friends who say they were taught by Ghanaian teachers. All right. In fact, there was a Nigerian friend of mine who I met at work who said he used to go and buy kenke in a kenke house in his area, and that he knows a lot of Ghanaians. But in the 83, around this time, there was a mad rush to leave Nigeria before end of January, because the government had said all foreigners should leave, and somehow Ghanaians became the victims of that. I don't know whether it was because of the Aliens Compliance Order of 69 and all of this. But it's an interesting history I think we should revisit. I'm going to talk to somebody who's also been thinking through this and will give me some further perspectives on the matter. All right, so I'm going to speak to Professor Akosia Darkwa, who's the Dean of School of Information and Communication Studies, for some quick thoughts on 40 years since Ghana Must Go. So Ghana Must Go is not just a bag, it's not just a song. It's actually something that really happened. All right, Prof, thanks for joining us. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good. So Yes, this, I wasn't old enough to remember because I was just 2 years old. So I wouldn't remember what happened at Ghana Must Go. But how serious was it? And what do you think we should remember 40 years on about that very serious expulsion of foreigners from Nigeria?
Okay, so I wasn't that much older myself. You were 2, I was 9. But what I do remember from that period was, I think that was the first time I actually heard Elwak Stadium, because they were going to be camped there and families were supposed to go and find them. And I just remember it seeming like a really major thing. Point is, the census of the year after that, 1984, showed that there were about 12 million Ghanaians. And the estimate are that 2 million people were expelled, the majority of whom were Ghanaians. So 2 million West Africans, the majority of whom were Ghanaians. If we take that within the 1.2 of the 2 million, that means 10% of Ghana's population at the time were involved in this. Those without the residence permit coming back. Your story about your teachers, the teachers in Nigeria, some of them might have had residence permits. There were professors there, I'm sure there were doctors in Nigeria. They would have had their residence permits. So, in effect, there were many more Ghanaians there than those who returned. But to think that 10% of Ghana's population had to find their way back home. They came in buses. The border at the time was closed. Eventually, Rollins had it opened. Ships were sent to Cotonou to bring them back. They were camped at Elwak Stadium. This was that we didn't have CTFM to announce that you should go for your family members then. We didn't have social media to make the announcement. This was happening on GBC radio and TV and so on. And to think that they found their families, because we didn't later on discover people camped at Elwak with nowhere to go. And as you rightly pointed out, there was a famine at the time. So people were already hard up and suddenly had to take on more members of the family because they had been repatriated. I'm a sociologist. I study work. So for me, that period marks a time in our history where, in search of work, Ghanaians had to experience many indignities. And it happened in many families, approximately 1 in 10. And I think in another decade, 2 decades, those who experience it directly will no longer be with us. So it's important that for those of us who have these stories in our family, we document, we make sure it is passed down to the next generation, so that we don't just have the memes and the songs, but we have the lived experiences marked, written, recorded for generations to come. I can study it, in fact, I am studying it with 2 colleagues, and we can only get at a slice of the reality out there. So it's important that each one of us who has had this personal experience in their family make sure that it is recorded. I don't think that there are many countries in the world that have such an experience to document. And it's important that we, Ghanaians, own the documentation and the sharing of the stories, and not just others who reference it in social media, on social media platforms and so on. I also want to make a quick correction since I misinformed. The announcement was actually 17th of January. So today is actually the exact 40th anniversary of the event.
Wow. So today, the 17th, was exactly the day the Ghanaians and others were asked to leave.
Exactly.
Amazing. In terms of lessons, do the lessons tilt more to negative or positive? In the sense that, there was a day we asked people if they had the chance to leave Ghana, if they would still go. And I know a lot of people still want to leave. And there are a lot of economic migrants who leave to all kinds of places. And yet, to think that in the economic conditions in the 80s were much, much worse than they are today, and yet we still managed to recover. So you could say that, in a sense, no matter what we are going through today, we can get over it. What in that spectrum, where do you stand?
So, I think when I was a kid, my mother would always say I should compare my fingers. They are not all the same, right? And so you might think your situation is bad, but others have it worse. Or you might think, and others have it better. So I don't like to do comparisons in that sense, as in whether 1983 was worse than today or not. Those who were experiencing it then are perhaps the ones best placed to tell us what it felt like. So I'm a parent now. I wasn't a parent then. So I experienced it as a child. And my parents who were working then are now retired. So it's difficult to have them say, well, it feels exactly the same or it feels different, because we're not exactly in the same place now when we discuss it. When you look at the statistics, yeah, the inflation then was worse, the currency devaluations and so on and so forth. But the thing is, when you are experiencing it now, when you have exposure to many more things, and suddenly you cannot afford those anymore, it feels different than when you were in a period where it didn't exist. So you talk about nutritional issues. In those days, there was no KFC. So if you couldn't afford it, well, it didn't exist to worry about. Now you have to experience your children wanting the KFCs and so on, that you may have provided them before and now have difficulty providing. We also have social media now, so it amplifies how we experience things and the discussions about it. So in a sense, it is different. You can say, yes, we overcame it once, and therefore we could overcome it again. Or you could say, never again. We should not put ourselves in a situation where we have to experience that ever again. So you can take both ends of it.
And for me, what's interesting,
it is crucial that we mark it and name it for what it was.
And for me, the other point is, these days in the news, there's Ghanaian traders complaining about Nigerians in retail trade, and it's almost like an annual story in the news where they lock up Nigerian shops. I mean, for what it's worth, I think this history is also important for people to know that, and I'm not saying we should retaliate for what they did, but maybe in covering that type of story, people should also remember what happened to our people in Nigeria. No?
Well, if we are talking about retaliation, then we started the wrong first, right? The Alien Compliance Order of 1959. So in that sense, we were the first bad people, so to speak. I think the larger point is, how do we treat those who are not us? How do we treat those who are foreign to us? We need to remember that we might be here, but we all have family members who are outside of here. Most of us in this country. So you might be in your own space and expect to be treated a certain way, but when you treat the foreigner in your space poorly, remember that that exact thing can happen to your relatives in another country, and you won't like it when you hear the story. So when you say they should lock up the Nigerian stores here, remember that there are Ghanaians in Nigeria, there are Ghanaians in Togo, there are Ghanaians in Burkina Faso, there are Ghanaians in the UK, in the US, but there are Ghanaians everywhere. I'm sure if you go to Iceland, you find a Ghanaian there. So just the way you'd like your friends, your family members to be treated in foreign spaces should keep that in mind when we have the same test idea to treat somebody poorly on the basis of who they are. I mean, we don't have the skin color differences here. And yet, I've done work on the ways in which Ghanaians treat Nigerians in this country, and it is not a pleasant story. It isn't from too long ago. This research was carried out in the last decade. So we have some ways to on how we treat others in our environment. And it's important that we keep that in mind, because we may be indifferent here, but we are going to be strangers at some point. So you do unto others as you like others to do unto you.
Definitely. And I'll be looking forward to reading whatever you write or when you finish your study on this. It's a really fascinating topic. Professor Kwesi Adakwa, Dean, School of Information and Communication Studies, University of Ghana. Thanks for talking to us. Time check is 4 minutes to 10, Citi Breakfast Show. I was asking just around, guys, almost everybody had somebody in Nigeria.
Yep.
Yeah, if 10% of the country came in. And I've also been told that also says a lot about our resilience.
Yeah.
That the economy did not collapse because our social structure was that strong.
Well, it did, actually.
No, I mean, it couldn't have gotten any worse, right? And, I feel, when I was young, they used to call New Town Lagos Town. And I think that was one of the places a lot of the people settled when they came. They settled at Elwak Trade Fair. And then somewhere at the border. Because I'm sure if you go to your area, there are a lot of people who stayed there.
We actually bought the brunt of...
because they came through the road and some of them couldn't go back.
Exactly. I mean, my auntie was directly affected. Many of them went to Nigeria. And when they tell you stories of the number of days they spent across the border.
99 days in Nigeria.
Trying to cross over, and how, people took advantage of them in the process.
Yeah. Really. The background is that, this is what happens. Political leaders always look to blame the other. So because Nigeria's economy had dwindled, sort of the promise of oil had not worked, the Shagari government decided to point to this funny thing about foreigners. It's like one of the reasons why things are not going well is that foreigners are here taking your jobs.
No, we actually, as she was
yeah, we did it first. I know, but I'm saying that, of course, I don't know. I don't have the full context of the Buzia one. But what I know about Nigerians is that, so they sort of came up and said, oh, to be a Nigerian, you must speak a certain language, you must be able to do this or that. And then they give a very short deadline for people to regularize. And they knew that many of the people could not regularize. So it led to, and the other point is that we are West Africans. We've been here for many, many years. Yeah. Why do we let British or French people define who we are? If I go to Aplau, I know there are people, look, I have family members in Togo. All right. If you go to Togo, there's a huge group of people there who are essentially the same people. Yet, because of what happened in 1844 or whatever we did in that conference, we have divided ourselves. And so Nigerians see themselves unique, Ghanaians see themselves unique. And I'm not sure that's the best way to go about this. It should be a lesson to treat ourselves better, because as I speak now, the global south treats the global north treats the global south very different. All right? Western civilization, they are all the same. They have their own ideas. They fought wars for centuries. I don't think we should go through all those things they went through by treating them as the other. So when things are not going well at Abosoka, we blame Nigerians or we blame Malians or Chadians. I think it's a wrong mindset. Fix your problem, do well and help other people. But this idea that, foreigners are come take our work, are come take our money, I don't think it's right.
I agree with you.
It's a very wrong thing.
I agree with you. I mean, because movement of people really helps to develop nations that people are moving to, and then also your own country, you get to develop it, because if Ghanaians move to Nigeria, they're working, they're sending money back home. The money that's brought back home is what we invest in our economy to help it improve. Again, when you go there, you learn new skills. So there's a lot of positive to it. There are positive sides to it.
Yeah.
Of course, I mean, you have a few cases of people misbehaving, where you go, for instance, they tell you that you go to a certain part of the world,
this group they are like this,
they are like this, Ghanaians are like this, or these people are like this. Those are to be expected, because if you mensa woman.
But I think Ghanaians are largely better behaved than most people.
Well, too.
I think that's from my experience. No. In foreign countries, because I'll tell you something. I'm told that Ghanaians are more. Look, when a Ghanaian goes to a different community, they comport themselves better. They're able to blend much easier. There are other groups who form their own microeconomy and they create their own business. They create their own culture.
We do all our bad things here.
Yeah.
Captain Budukumson said to me on the big issue.
He said what?
That when they were in Germany, the only time you see a Ghanaian thinking seriously, who puts his hand by his jaw like that and be thinking seriously, is when he wants to beat the system.
I reject that. I completely dissociate myself from that statement. The only time you see a Ghanaian thinking seriously is when he wants to beat the system. Sky, you are not correct. All right, time for Citi News at 10. Caleb Kuda, good morning.
Good morning, Bernard. Coming up, the Ghana Association of Banks edged